Terry Silver is one of the most psychologically complex antagonists in the Karate Kid universe because he is not born cruel, nor forged solely by ideology like John Kreese, nor driven by petty resentment like many lesser villains. Silver is instead a man who loses ownership of his identity early in life and spends decades trying, unsuccessfully, to live with the consequences. Across the Karate Kid Part 3 and Cobra Kai, Silver's descent is not a straight line but a cycle: repression, indulgence, reactivation, escalation, and collapse. What makes him especially dangerous is that his violence is not impulsive. It is deliberate, strategic, and emotionally anesthetized. Silver does not rage like Kreese, he decides. In The Karate Kid Part 3, Silver is introduced as a wealthy, erratic, cocaine-fueled exaggeration of 1980s excess, but this surface chaos masks something more revealing: dissociation. At this stage, Silver is a man who has learned to avoid himself. His money, his drugs, his flamboyance, and his performative confidence all function as insulation against unresolved trauma. Vietnam is not merely a backstory detail, it is the psychological origin point of Silver's entire pathology. Kreese saving his life in combat creates an unpayable moral debt, one that Silver never metabolizes into gratitude or closure. Instead, the debt becomes identity. He does not see Kreese as a friend or mentor but as the man to whom his continued existence must justify itself. This is why Silver's loyalty feels fanatical rather than affectionate. His allegiance is existential. When Silver agrees to torment Daniel LaRusso, it is not because he hates Daniel personally. In fact, Silver initially displays flashes of conscience and hesitation. What drives him forward is obligation combined with displacement. Daniel becomes a symbolic stand-in for Silver's unresolved rage at himself, at his fear, his weakness, and his survival. The infamous psychological torture Silver inflicts on Daniel is revealing because it mirrors Silver's own internal experience: unpredictable punishment, false mentorship, oscillation between praise and cruelty. Silver recreates externally what he lives with internally. His cruelty is not sadism for pleasure at this stage, it is reenactment. Importantly, Silver in Karate Kid 3 is not in control. He is intoxicated, erratic, and still fundamentally tethered to Kreese's authority. Kreese supplies the ideology, Silver supplies the resources. This division of labor matters because it shows that Silver's early villainy is derivative. He borrows Kreese's moral framework because he has not yet constructed his own. The moment Kreese is defeated, Silver vanishes, not because he is redeemed, but because the structure that allowed him to act has collapsed. Without Kreese, Silver has no justification to be cruel. He retreats into avoidance rather than reckoning. Cobra Kai reveals what happened in the intervening decades, and this is where Silver's psychology deepens dramatically. When he reappears, he is sober, restrained, polished, and apparently healed. He speaks the language of therapy, accountability, and self-control. This version of Silver is not fake, it is incomplete. He has treated the symptoms of his pathology: substance abuse, impulsivity, volatility, but not the core wound: his belief that his life only has meaning when subordinated to a cause larger than himself. Silver has learned how to suppress his darkness, not integrate it. As a result, it remains intact, waiting. John Kreese's return is not the cause of Silver's relapse but the trigger. Kreese reintroduces Silver to a familiar psychological role: lieutenant, financier, savior in waiting. At first, Silver resists because resistance has become his new coping mechanism. But once he allows himself back into Cobra Kai, something crucial changes. For the first time, Silver realizes that he no longer needs Kreese's approval. He has internalized the ideology. Worse, he has improved it. Kreese's worldview is crude and absolutist, rooted in survival and loyalty. Silver refines it into something more modern and insidious: power through systems, legitimacy through institutions, control through perception. This is the moment Terry Silver becomes more dangerous than John Kreese. Kreese is emotionally driven, bound by personal loyalty and old wounds. Silver, by contrast, becomes operational. He understands branding, expansion, legal insulation, and narrative dominance. His narcissistic traits, previously masked by chaos, now express themselves as grandiosity and entitlement. He does not merely want Cobra Kai to win, he wants to redefine karate itself so that his values are normalized. This is not the psychology of a bully. It is the psychology of an ideologue with resources. Silver's interactions with students reveal another shift. Where Kreese breaks students to harden them, Silver molds them to validate himself. He alternates between generosity and terror, creating dependency. His mentorship style mirrors coercive control seen in real-world cult leaders and abusive executives. He rewards loyalty lavishly and punishes dissent surgically. The cruelty becomes more refined, more personal, and more intentional. By Season 5, Silver no longer reacts emotionally at all. His violence is calm. His punishments are delayed. His smile is controlled. This emotional flatness is a hallmark of moral disengagement rather than madness. The confrontation with Chosen is Silver's psychological climax. When Silver states that he was meant to die a warrior's death, he is articulating a belief that has finally solidified, that redemption is not for men like him. This is not humility. It is fatalism weaponized as honor. Silver believes that his survival beyond Vietnam was an error that must eventually be corrected, and that dying in conflict would retroactively justify his life. In this moment, Silver is no longer seeking victory. He is seeking narrative closure. That is why he fights recklessly. That is why consequences no longer restrain him. Death has become acceptable because it promises meaning. Is Terry Silver mentally ill? The most accurate answer is that he is psychologically damaged rather than psychotic. He shows clear signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, long-term substance abuse disorder, narcissistic personality traits, and moral injury. However, he retains full awareness of his actions. He understands right and wrong. He simply no longer believes those categories apply to him. This is what makes him tragic rather than insane. Silver is not delusional. He is resigned. In the end, Terry Silver's downfall is not caused by his violence but by his refusal to own himself. He spends his life either submitting to Kreese's ideology or replacing it with his own perfected version. He never allows himself to exist without a war to justify him. Where other characters grow by abandoning the warrior identity, Silver clings to it until it consumes him. He does not lose because he is weak. He loses because he believes that destruction is the only honest end available to him. Terry Silver is not the embodiment of evil. He is the embodiment of what happens when a man survives trauma without ever reclaiming authorship of his soul.